These days, when you hear the words Master Roshi, your mind tends to fly in the direction of nosebleeds, dirty magazines, and perversion in general. There's not a moment in Super where the turtle hermit isn't trying to wet his beak, and honestly, it's one of the most iconic aspects of his personality. But don't let the fact that this old man only wants to chase the peachy peachy gals fool you into thinking he's a weakling, because Master Roshi has an ace up his sleeve, which is very similar to one of the strongest characters in the entire franchise, Frieza. He might have an aloof and self-obsessed aura about him when you catch him casually, but when it's time to throw down, the old man can throw down. And in this video, we'll explain how he does it and why it makes him similar to the evil emperor of the universe. How many forms does Master Roshi have exactly? These days, we can't even think of Earthlings having a chance at matching up to the power of the aliens of the DBverse, but back in the day, humans themselves had some pretty crazy stuff going on technique-wise. Remember when Tien could spawn 4 arms like that Ben 10 transformation? They brought that one back for a good laugh in one of Super's filler episodes, but the point is, transformation is a foundational concept in Dragon Ball Z, and one of the earliest displays of this ability was none other than Master Roshi, though the way in which he does it is very understated, we have to say. Let's ask you guys a question. How old do you think Master Roshi is? Take a moment, have a chat in the comments, we'll wait. Done discussing? Or maybe even Googling? Well, whatever number you landed on, the core gist of the answer is pretty effing old, right? And that explains his frail frame to boot. Allegedly, Master Roshi has been alive for around 3 centuries by the time Super rolls around, which explains how Gohan, not that one, and the Ox King are old enough to be Goku's elders, yet young enough to have been Roshi's disciples. You'd think that being alive for so long would have a severe toll on his physical strength, but even with his lanky frame, Master Roshi is able to lift up entire boulders with ease. He's able to do so thanks to his decades, nay centuries worth of experience in the fields of martial arts and ki control. Think of Roshi as being akin to Kaio Kaku from the Baki franchise. The wily old martial artist has tricks up his sleeve that none even dare to consider when faced with his lecherous character, but therein lies the beauty of Roshi's expertise. In Baki, Yujiro severely underestimated Kaku in the beginning, and then slowly came to respect the old kung fu master's spiel about training until martial arts is embedded in your soul. In Super, we learn that Roshi is perhaps the only human that has even remotely come close to unlocking Ultra Instinct. Master Roshi was chosen to be part of the Universe 7 team for the Tournament of Power precisely because of his experience. He dealt with multiple targets that were well beyond his power level, and his martial arts techniques were so refined that even Beerus and Whis had to admit that Roshi was very close to using the core principles of Ultra Instinct just due to his instincts as a fighter, especially after he stood up to Jiren and didn't die instantly. And this isn't even taking into account the fact that Roshi's physiology changes given the circumstances. Master Roshi is not an active fighter after the conclusion of Dragon Ball. From Dragon Ball Z onwards, he's mostly in the background, and the Tournament of Power was sort of an acknowledgement come reminder of his skills and his status as Goku's true master. But back in the Dragon Ball days, we saw Roshi bulking up for the 21st World Martial Arts Tournament, where he fought Goku and Krillin in order to keep their fighting spirits burning. Roshi decided to fight under the disguise of Jackie Chun, and he brought a wig to go with his look and everything. But his muscles weren't a result of bodysuits, he trained his butt off to get into shape. Now we know this isn't exactly a transformation, but Roshi never really puts on that kind of bulk ever again, so we can technically call it his first transformation, and we say first because he has another one, which is more along the lines of what us Dragon Ball fans are accustomed to, and that's his max power transformation. Master Roshi's buff form, and how it makes him similar to Frieza. Now, here's the thing you need to understand about Master Roshi. He's never fighting at full power. Roshi constantly suppresses his full strength because his philosophy on martial arts is that those who move better are better martial artists than those with raw strength. Despite his old age, Roshi has never stopped training himself, and the fact that he created the Kamehameha should tell you how top tier his ki control is. But what about the moments where Roshi needs to go all out? He can't go on a weeks-long training regimen to buff up like he did with the World Martial Arts Tournament every time. Trouble can strike at any time and any place, and picking up boulders is well and good, but what do you do when you come across an enemy that has the potential to destroy continents or even the planet? If you're Master Roshi, you manipulate your body to operate at maximum output by buffing up. We saw Roshi's buff form for the first time when he put out the fires of Fire Mountain at the Ox King's request, sort of. Everyone doubted if Roshi could even get the job done, and Goku even had to help the old man up to a position where he could use his technique. Only Ox King believed in Roshi's ability, having been a student of his a long time ago, and turns out his faith was placed correctly because what Master Roshi did next shocked everyone present. After gaining a firm footing, Roshi started to buff up his body by releasing the limitations he places on it. First, he beefed up his arms, which shocked the little audience he'd unintentionally gathered. Next came his torso, which pretty much stunned everyone into silence because they all wanted to see what would happen next. Well, what happened next is that Master Roshi used a Kamehameha to blast Fire Mountain into the ground, thus solving Ox King's problem. He looked pretty gassed afterwards, which tells us two things about this buff form. Number one, it was at mountain exploding level when it debuted, and number two, it had a significant stamina drain as well. But over time, Roshi was able to improve both of these aspects to the point that he destroyed the moon during the 21st World Martial Arts Tournament to stop Goku's Uzaru rampage and then finish the fight. And he used the form multiple times during the Tournament of Power. Roshi's buff transformation is very similar to Frieza in that it has him operating at 100% power whenever he assumes it. When Frieza first assumed his final form in the series, he admitted that he was only using 1% of that form's overall energy output. Goku managed to push him up to 50% using Kaioken and every other trick in his bag, but it took going Super Saiyan to draw out Frieza's maximum strength. The Emperor of the Universe was an unquestionable prodigy in terms of fighting skill and raw strength, but he knew nothing of ki control and using energy efficiently, which is what caused him to lose that fight to Goku in the first place. Roshi's problem isn't using ki properly, it's having way less ki to work with from the beginning, especially compared to Frieza himself. Like Frieza, Roshi too improves the usage time of his buff form. In Dragon Ball, he nearly died after performing the Mafuba once and was then killed by King Piccolo despite going all out. But by the time the Tournament of Power rolls around, Roshi's skill with his buff transformation has increased to the point he can activate and deactivate it multiple times over without suffering any of the previous side effects, like an immediate plummet in his stamina levels. But because he's just a human, the ceiling on his power is rather definite. No amount of training Master Roshi does can put him on par with Frieza without training, and catching up to post-training Frieza will be a pipe dream for him. But he can do the Mafuba twice without expiring, and he also tanks far more damage than anyone thought he'd be capable of. Moreover, Roshi breaks his limits and goes beyond them when he fights Ganos, a Universe 4 combatant whose ability was to become stronger as he fought. This might make him sound like a Saiyan, so let us just point out that Ganos' growth occurred during the fight itself, and his first transformation comfortably put him beyond Master Roshi's power level. But Roshi used his buff form and poured his life energy into it to blast Ganos out of bounds, thus proving that his buff form could have kept him alive in a whole different universe. Well, that is if he didn't overdo it with Ganos, because Goku had to use his Ki Blast to resuscitate the old man, but you get what we're trying to say here. Quite frankly, Roshi's buff form can be interpreted either way, as a limit-breaking feat, or a limit-displaying feat, or even a combination of the two. But one thing about it is very clear, which is that it puts him in the top tier of power levels amongst humans at the very least. Krillin might be the strongest human from a raw strength perspective, but when it comes to skill and experience, Roshi is unbeatable. He gives Tien a run for his money when he accidentally gets possessed by a witch, and even Goku is shocked at how powerful his master truly is. Marvelous verdict! But that's where the surprises end, because sadly that's all we've got for you guys on Buff Roshi and how that all works. All of base Roshi's stats are improved exponentially, and he's able to negate the side effects of the same by keeping up with his training. Where he couldn't move while using it in the beginning, he can now whoop some serious ass whenever he needs to, and that's all thanks to his buff transformation. But that's enough from us. What do you guys think of this video? And what's your favorite Master Roshi moment from the franchise? Let us know in the comments down below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you all again very soon.